two really seasoned entrepreneurs, Hunter and Svetski, that are the founders of Satoshi Square, Satoshi Money X Spirit of Satoshi with AI. And they will talk about how they are building a startup in Bitcoin, how to manage all the sweets and sours of entrepreneurship, and how to deal also with the regulations, and to maybe answer this question about what would Satoshi do. So please, are you ready? Oh, the microphone is not working. ¿El micrófono?
We're ready.
Okay.
Can we steal that second microphone? Are we allowed to have two
Sure.
microphones? Thank you. Are you ready?
I'm going to relax and just sit here and watch you.
Old man over here.
Yes.
Old man. This promises to be a very dynamic session. Most of you, if you know Svetski, you probably know him as an author. He's the best-selling author, along with Mark Moss, of the Un-Communist Manifesto.
I'm glad you got that right.
Okay. Emphasis on un. Also working on Bushido of Bitcoin right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. But beyond being a best-selling author, he has also been an entrepreneur for 15 years and has started businesses in a number of different industries: sales, renewable energy. In the Bitcoin industry, he started the leading DCA app out of Australia called Amber, and he's working on a new venture, which we'll get into in a little bit of time, that talks about open source AI tools with a focus on Bitcoin-centric language models. Did I get that right? Kind of.
Got it.
Okay,
My God,
cool.
man.
Over to you.
All right. So, since he introduced me, I'm going to take a moment to introduce him. And Hunter's introduction is a little bit longer than mine because he's older. He's done a few more things than I have. But most of you probably don't need an introduction to him. But he's
Maybe hold the mic in your mouth.
I'm sorry, I'm new to this. Okay, so Bitcoin class of 2014. He's an active angel investor. I didn't know you invested in more than 40 Bitcoin companies. It's pretty impressive.
That's a fact.
That's a lot. Okay, Hunter is a builder. In 2019, he founded Galloy, who is the company obviously putting together this this event. In 2020, he came to El Salvador, and he used the Galloy stack to create the Bitcoin Beach Wallet, which you guys know as Blink today. And then in the summer of 2021, after the Presidente announced Bitcoin law in Miami, but before the law went into effect, apparently, he helped to organize a Lightning Summit. I believe it's this Lightning Summit, right?
That is also a fact.
Okay, there we go. I'm on the ball. And keep in mind, this was in the middle of a pandemic. There had been, wow, there had not been a global conference for more than 2 years. Really? There you go.
The previous Lightning Summit was Berlin, July of 19.
Okay, wow, there you go. Yet in a country that most thought was unsafe to visit, with only 10 weeks notice. Yeah, I remember that. It was actually a fantastic conference. That was my second time in Salvador, and it was the first adopting Bitcoin, and I actually thought it was a great success. And must have done something right, because here we are 3 years later doing a third one, right?
It's pretty cool. We intended the first adopting Bitcoin to be a one-time only event to educate the business population and local communities here, and it was so successful, 700 people, 30 countries in the first one, we decided to make it an annual.
So here we are now. Chris is working on a new thing. He stole my name. I'm kidding. No, we both stole the name from someone else. But he's working on Satoshi Money. And Chris, I believe you're going to tell us a little bit more about that now.
We'll start with the dog and pony show. So meet Satoshi, the everything Bitcoin app for everyone. We all know the fiat money system is broken, and we also know that Bitcoin is unseizable, uncensorable, hard money. And so with Satoshi, we're going to offer people an escape hash that is beautiful and easy to use. Often in life, necessity is the mother of invention. So I've been a Bitcoiner for 10 years. I've used every app and platform and market, and I was always dumbfounded where every app just falls down in some fundamental way, and I couldn't understand why there was no management team in the industry that could build the de facto Bitcoin super app or global Bitcoin neobank, if you will. And so the genesis of Satoshi is really quite simple. It's the super app that I wish I had for my first introduction to Bitcoin. The world needs the Bitcoin super app that allows people to do everything that they want to do with both their fiat money and their sats. So let's get into the details. First up, on Satoshi, you can buy and sell Bitcoin. You can smash buy, you can set up recurring purchases hourly, weekly, daily, monthly, whatever you prefer. You can also send on Lightning. We support LNURL. You can have your own custom email address, svetsky@satoshi.money, and move sats around just as easy as you would send an email. This is all live in our beta app, which has been in the wild since February. Now, as every Bitcoiner knows, there's rabbit holes within rabbit holes. You never stop learning. So curated within the app, we've got the best educational content in the world. This is not linking out to YouTube or anywhere else. Sit on your phone. Once you're on the platform, you're not subject to the algorithm on some social media platform. You're not subject to Google search. It's all curated for you here in the app. Next up, earn and refer. So earn is not a yield product like we saw from Celsius or BlockFi or others. What do we mean by earn? Every user gets free sats simply for downloading the app and opening it every day during the first week. Then you'll get more free sats for completing fun, simple onboarding challenges. Set up your first Lightning wallet, more free sats. Send your first Lightning transaction, more free sats. Users will also earn sats back for all of their own transactional activity. And on the refer side, we're going to do something very novel. Most consumer businesses in any industry will give you a one-time reward for referring a new customer, $5, $10, whatever it might be. Imagine instead getting 21% of the lifetime revenue of every customer you refer to Satoshi. So I'm from New York City. If you go to Union Square in New York, there's a huge billboard that shows the US federal debt, the trillions of dollars just constantly rolling higher second by second as the interest accrues. I imagine analogously, people coming back to the app 22 times a day because they want to see the sats at the top of the screen here stacking higher from all the earn and refer activity. So this keeps people sticky with us from the first moment they download the app, and it also helps keep our cost of customer acquisition low as we build a massive business. Everything you've seen thus far will be live in our public launch come Q1. This next feature, Borrow, is the first feature that's not yet built. Realistically, we'll introduce this in 2025, but people, especially Americans, love credit. A lot of Bitcoiners who hodl don't want to sell their Bitcoin, so we'll offer the ability to borrow fiat against your Bitcoin collateral. There's a couple companies in the Americas that do this now. We love their Bitcoin-only ethos. They have novel multi-sig collaborative custody solutions that provides a high level of trust and security. But these businesses have been around for many years, and their UX still leaves something to be desired. Their customer service is almost non-existent, and they've got these cumbersome 6 or 12-month term loan products that are difficult for the average person to manage. If you contrast that with a business called Nexo out of Europe, Nexo for years has had a beautiful UX UI, and they've got a different product. It's a line of credit. You can micromanage it 24/7, 365. Just poke your phone, don't need to speak to a human. Problem with Nexo, number one, they're not Bitcoin only, and number two, the assets are not locked in a multi-sig structure, so you don't know if they're going to run off with your money next month. So we're going to marry the best of both worlds here. Bitcoin only ethos with a collaborative custody multi-sig with a beautiful, easy to use line of credit product. Next up is spend. We offer the ability to spend your sats anywhere that Lightning's accepted, but we know we're on a multi-decade journey here before the world accepts Bitcoin as money. So next year we'll introduce a Visa Spend Card partnership where you as a Bitcoiner, if you want to spend your sats anywhere in the world, you'll be able to do so where Visa's accepted and earn sats back on all of your own transactional activity. A fundamental question, how do we reach the world? You know, there's a lot of good Bitcoin marketing organizations out there right now, but they're really marketing to a narrow audience who are typically more affluent people, particularly in the US where we're going to start, and they're also people who are already Bitcoin aware. Most people don't understand how money works. I didn't understand how money works even after I got my fancy MBA, right? It's intentionally kept secret from us. But people in the world, average people, know something's broken in the world. People go to the grocery store and the bag of beans that cost $7 last year now costs $12. And they're like, what is this 7% inflation that you talk about? It's 70% inflation. And so we're going to meet people where they're at. We've already got partnerships with content creators who have huge followings on the major social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, in what I think of as Bitcoin adjacent communities. So think outdoorsmen, think musicians, think video games people who play video games, think people who like to barbecue, right? And we're going to speak their language. We're not going to shout about how great Bitcoin is. We're just going to speak to them about what's broken in the world and how what we offer meets their needs. And that's how we get to the next TAM that's 100 times bigger than the current audience for Bitcoin apps. So net, we know we have a truly unique offering across a number of dimensions. First is just the convenience. You can achieve what we offer with other apps in market today, but you have to switch between 2, 3, 4, 5 different apps to do buy, sell, spend, earn, learn, pay, borrow, etc. Second, testament to my co-founder Dallas, who's in the front row here, self-taught, we know we have a design and a user experience that is head and shoulders above anything in market. And then third is optionality. We're going to give people choice. What do I mean by that? Everything in market is binary. Take KYC. You either need to do full KYC, scan your passport and your retina before you see the home screen, or it's non-KYC with a different capability set. In every market we operate, including the US, we will give consumers the choice of both KYC and non-KYC options. Similar on the custody side. Everything's either a custodial, trust the bank, or non-custodial, be your own bank, good luck, don't screw it up. Live right now in our beta app, you can simultaneously have both a custodial and a non-custodial wallet, which is very novel. And as soon as feasible in the near future, we'll offer a third option of a collaborative custody wallet on Fedimint or Cashew, where if you're in a high trust community, you can trust the elders with your private keys and you don't have to worry about screwing it up. Net, we know we have a superior product and we're going to command premium pricing for this product. It's not going to be a race to zero on fees with Satoshi like we see others in the market. How do we make money? We're going to charge a fair price on buying and selling Bitcoin. We're going to charge 30 basis points if you want to send a Lightning transaction. We'll charge a higher fee if you want instant cash out of fiat or to use the Visa spend card. But then we're also going to have a SaaS-like feature, Satoshi Plus. Pay $10 a month. That gets you elevated customer service, a massive reduction on the fees that I just highlighted, and some other fun Easter egg benefits. This is our roadmap. What you see in 2023 on the left is already built out. We're ready for a full public launch come early Q1. Next year, we'll introduce the Satoshi Plus and the Visa Spend partnership. And like I said before, realistically 2025 before we introduce our first credit products. You can come meet Dallas and myself. He's sitting here in the front row. That's the Dog and Pony Show. We'd love your feedback.
There we go. The session's not over.
I've got some questions for Alex, but before I do that, does anybody have a quick question or two on the presentation that I just rifled through? Going once. Sir, with the hat. Yes, we have beta versions of both iOS and Android right now, and then we intend to launch in both stores early next year. John. That's a great question. So we intend to be the de facto global Bitcoin app, emphasis on global, right? So early Q1, we're going to launch in both the US and El Salvador. We will launch in at least 1 or 2 other major markets come next year, right? On the short list, just to give you a preview, kind of the 4 that are top of mind for us, Mexico, Argentina, Switzerland, and UAE, Emirates. But we haven't exactly phased the schedule yet, but that gives you a sense of where we want to go next. All right, I've done my bit. Alex.
Take a seat next to me.
Do I have to?
Come on. I even moved the seat a little bit closer to you. All right.
So this session is Satoshi Squared, and we want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. And so, you know, it is not easy to take a company from 0 to 1, as they say, to create something from scratch and create the strategy, raise capital, put together the team, build a product. With Satoshi, this is the 5th time in my career that I'm doing such. But Alex, you've started a number of businesses yourself, so why don't you take us through some of the trials and tribulations and the psychology behind starting a business in this industry?
Cool. How many people here have run a business, like their own? Yep, okay. How many have raised capital to fund the business? Okay, a few less. How many still who have raised capital and are running a business still run a business? Okay, cool. Yeah, everyone failed. Now, who has failed before in running a business? Yep, okay, cool. Yeah, this is good. Not the failure part. I mean, maybe it is good. I want to talk about, like, so something I didn't tell you was I bought a domain about 8 or 9 years ago called Hero to Zero. And I started writing a book about how how to basically make $1 million and lose everything by the time you're 25. And the point of the book was going to be a series of lessons of what not to do, because I felt like there was too many books out there to tell you what to do, but not enough books out there to tell you specifically what not to do. And I guess maybe just by way of a story, I'll talk about the entrepreneurial journey, because as I saw, there's a bunch of people in here who've run businesses before, and it really, the analogy you told me earlier about the duck, right? Like people see, when they say, oh, you've got a business, right? And they see the duck above the water, and everything looks nice and smooth, but underneath the water, you've got this like frantic paddling, right? Like a lot of the things that occur in business happen behind the scenes. And the stories of the trials and tribulations, the failures, the 1 to 0 moments, the opposite of what you're intending, teach you a lot about later actually how to run a business. Like where the pitfalls are. And I've had many of these, but maybe a story I'll pick from it was sort of between 2011 to 2014. I was running a renewable energies company, and we were installing solar panels on people's roofs. And the interesting thing about that business was, prior to running that company, I had a sales company with this friend of mine, and we were both just like machine salespeople. We'd go door to door and we'd sell anything we'd get our hands on, like pay television, putting insulation in rooftops, like whatever. And anyway, he and I had a couple of disagreements about business, so he kind of took half the money, ran away, and then left me with all the taxes and the bills. And I paid all of that, started again, and I went into solar. And the initial couple months of this solar company was, we would go door knocking, and I went from selling $100 products door to door to selling a $20,000 solar system. And I'd knock on the door, people were like, oh, this sounds interesting. How much does it cost? $20,000. They're like, yeah, goodbye. Like, it was just like, imagine taking someone like at the door from zero to giving you $20,000. Like, it was extremely difficult. But we kept pushing at it, kept pushing, and after about 4 weeks, we figured out a method to actually sign people up. Obviously, adjusted the size of the systems, this and that. And within like a few months, we were making sales. And then the next problem happened, which was the companies we were selling for, instead of installing within 2 to 4 weeks so that we could get paid, these guys weren't installing for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm surrounded by incompetence. So what did I do? I went and I found my own installers, found my own suppliers. I had a background in engineering, so I could like wire up systems, so I knew what to do and design them. And we went and we started doing this all ourselves. Anyway, the long story short, to sort of fast forward this, was within a year, I was about 22 years old back then. I went from making no money to making about $50,000 profit a week. Like, I was killing it. I made my first $1 million, and I just kept reinvesting everything into the business.
So how did you lose your first $1 million?
So you'll find out now, right? So we went from a single office. We had offices up and down the country. So I ended up like, I was this 22, 23-year-old kid. Like, I remember people would come for interviews, and they thought that I was like the person that you talked to before the interview. And they're like, oh, so you're the boss. And, like, I look relatively youngish now, but like when I was 22, like I looked like a baby. And had 3 offices, we were installing panels everywhere, and basically a big driver of the business back then was government incentives. The government was throwing money at people to install solar systems. And the way it basically worked was, let's say you get a solar system that was 10 grand.
Is this the short version of the story?
This is the short version. Okay, just give me a second. 10 grand system, $2,000 margin, right? So bear with me. The government would pay 5, and the customer would pay 5. We'd get the customer's money first, and then we'd have to carry the loss for a number of months until the government paid out their 5. Anyway, what happens is the government completely, as we know, mismanaged the incentives, and they panic. They had like, I think $1 billion or whatever it was allocated for 5 years. They went through it in 6 months. They freaked out, and they like, all right, the rebates are ending in 3 weeks. If you don't get signed up, you miss out on your rebates. So in those last 3 weeks of the month, we signed up something like, I don't know, $5-6 million worth of people to install systems. And I thought, okay, we make enough margin for this to like last a little while. We'll get into other businesses, reinvest the money, started building a gym. And here's what happened. So this is the big lesson. we got the money from the customers. We installed all the systems. 6 months later, when it came time for the government to pay everyone, they paid everyone 50 cents on the dollar. So if you do the math really quickly, we actually made a loss on every single system that we signed up. So I went overnight from having millions of dollars in the bank to losing millions of dollars, and had to start again at around the age of 24, 25. So that lesson, or that experience taught me a lot about, how to not only build a business, but, money management, trusting the government. This is actually, I think, part of what made me a Bitcoiner, because this was long before I discovered Bitcoin. And yeah, it was a rough period, because I had this gym, I had started getting into LEDs, like everything got wiped out. And I decided to go become a hippie in Bali, actually, but that's another story. And anyway, long story short is that experience led me to other businesses, and then the journey and the struggle continues.
So let's talk about other businesses. We're at a Bitcoin conference. I've created a business that's eponymously named after the creator of Bitcoin itself, Satoshi. You also have a new business, a new venture with Satoshi in the name, Spirit of Satoshi. Maybe 30 seconds or less. Give us the description of Spirit of Satoshi.
Okay, so 30 seconds or less, we're trying to build a ChatGPT kind of agent AI that is like a Bitcoin-centric language model. So instead of like just ChatGPT referencing Bitcoin information, this thing will think like a Bitcoiner around any question you ask it, right? So if you ask it about, I don't know, what food should I eat? It'll probably tell you to eat meat instead of anything else. So it's like, this is just the idea is like, it should talk, speak, and I put in real air quotes, think like a Bitcoiner.
And so everybody in the audience has a sense of what I'm trying to bring forth into the world, which is the super app that any citizen in any jurisdiction can use to manage Bitcoin and cross over to fiat and back again, right? And that's a very ambitious vision. And in fact, there's a lot on our roadmap that you did not see in the presentation. But a big piece, if we're going to be successful, is meeting people where they're at and having a great customer experience, not just in the onboarding, but also customer service and support when things go wrong. And so maybe you can share your thoughts in terms of how our two businesses might work together, given what you're building on the bleeding edge of AI.
Sure. So something Chris and I have spoken about, which is, and I think this is really unique in the Bitcoin space, is like you go to other industries, other verticals, everyone's trying to like fight it out and not cooperate and everything. I think Bitcoin companies have a fundamental cooperative ethos, right? And something we want to do is we want to be the sort of the toolkit for Bitcoin companies to use to scale up things like onboarding, support, sales, customer acquisition, education, etc. Like one thing I was just thinking about when you were showing the Earn product is we actually, as part of crowdsourcing our model and creating the data that we use to train the model, people can go in there and actually earn sats for helping train Satoshi. So that could be something that we work in, where people can not only earn by spending their sats, but earn by the stuff that they learn, they can actually put it to use. So there's all this sorts of stuff that, by the way, I'm putting that on the roadmap. I don't care what you say.
Does anybody want to earn free sats for training up his Bitcoin AI? Maybe. Okay, yeah. We got a few volunteers.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, that's like an example, and there's many other things out there. We're talking about like building like a Bitcoin pulse. I was talking to Muzz in the audience here earlier today, which is, could you get an agent like this to monitor all of the talk that's happening on Twitter, on Reddit, on Google, and sort of understand what the hell are people talking about Bitcoin this week, right? And kind of distill that into something that's a piece of intelligence that a Bitcoin company can use. So there's all sorts of ideas, all sorts of potential here when Bitcoin companies collaborate.
Cool. Questions from the audience, either from me or for Svetski. Bob.
How would you say that your product differentiates itself from BitKit, who actually announced their product at this conference 2 years ago as well?
I must confess I'm not particularly familiar with BitKit, so I'm not positioned to comment.
I think I can make a slight comment because I kind of know BitKit a little bit, and I think I know what you're doing. So I think BitKit is, I think BitKit is more of a Bitcoin native, non-touching the fiat rails, Lightning-focused thing, whereas what Chris is doing is more holistic. I think that's the best differentiator.
Gentleman in the second row.
My understanding of AI is that every word is a prediction.
Yes.
So your prediction is a Bitcoin prediction rather than ChatGPT's all-encompassing prediction.
Correct. Yeah, it's more skewed. So if you were to ask it like I said, the meat example, like what you should eat, right? So like probabilistically speaking, the next word to come out of Satoshi's mouth will be more like something that a Bitcoiner would say, which is, just for everyone, tomorrow I'm going to be actually doing a demo. So we built a voice for Satoshi, and it's kind of like a Japanese accented American voice. I'm going to be presenting that on one of the stages at some point. I don't know when, but people will be able to. We'll have a mic running around, and you'll be able to ask Satoshi a question, and he'll speak through the speakers, and we'll see what the hell he says.
More questions? Moz, you must have a question. In that big brain of yours.
How does what you're doing different from just typing it into ChatGPT or just using an existing kind of language model that's out there? Like, why would somebody do that? I mean, everyone uses these terms, training AI or all of this stuff. How does that work?
Yeah, kind of like what this gentleman asked here is just probabilistically speaking, Satoshi will speak more like a Bitcoiner. So I don't anticipate that being a standalone thing where people use Spirit of Satoshi like they do ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is general. You go to ChatGPT to ask anything, right? But I would anticipate in the context of a Bitcoin product or service that is seeking to onboard people, you don't want an onboarding agent to just say anything. You probably want it to be more Bitcoin-esque. So
Is your intention to solely have one spirit of Satoshi, or will we have the spirit of Breedlove and the spirit of Sailor and many spirits?
I don't think so. I was thinking that earlier on, but I think, particularly for the Bitcoin space, you need a broader personality. And I think Satoshi kind of represents that, because nobody actually knows what Satoshi's personality was like anyway.
Gentleman in the back, blue shirt.
No, there'll be low fidelity models. So I'll answer this really quickly. It's different to training. Training is a high fidelity process. This is a low fidelity process. They're completely different. So, I mean, we'll probably build a little Bitcoin agent and probably host it on their marketplace, but that'll be like a baby agent compared to what we're doing.
Awesome. That's all we have time for. You can check out my product at satoshi.money. And where do people find out about Spirit?
Spiritofsatoshi.ai.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.